What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast. We're talking about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've been to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So welcome to the podcast. So Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask the CISSP. This week should be Roger White. So he is a professor, a security solutions architect, as well as just an all-around great guy, mentor, things of that nature. So it's 4 years in the making. He's been a listener of the podcast for some time. We've talked back and forth, but we just couldn't sync our schedules. So finally got him on. So definitely check that one out. And then the next one was processing will be Manil Clark. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the podcast before. Great conversation. He's a retired supervisory special agent from the FBI, and now he is a GRC evangelist within cybersecurity. So another great conversation. And then Fridays, everything else, the movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it a Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article, comes from Forbes.com. And the title of this one, or actually written by Davey Winder, and the title of this one is New Security Alert. Hacker uploads 10 billion with a B, Bravo, boy, passwords to crime forum, right? So people will think, okay, well, whatever, right? 10 billion passwords or whatever. What does that matter? Well, that's a lot, right? So like what you kind of get when people do things like this is what's called credential stuffing, right? So what they end up doing is that when you have this big database like they have here of all these passwords and usernames, like because so many people tend to use the same combinations, right? Like a lot of these places when you log into them, it's an email address and a password, right? So what ends up happening is a lot of people, they just get lazy, right? So they have 3, 4, 5, 6 different accounts that have the same username, which is your email and password, right? So they end up doing credential stuffing to where they have these programs that run across all these different sites out there, these different apps and things of that nature. So what they end up doing is do the credential stuffing, where it's like, okay, this username, this password, run it against these hundreds of things, right, and see what pops, right? Now, depending on what you use it for, that's not a good thing, right? Especially if you have, that you use the same password for your financial institution that you use for Chick-fil-A, for some other type of restaurant or whatever, some other app that's just not as important, right? Like when it comes to your money, you want to keep that separated, right? You want to make that a little bit different, but apparently a lot of people aren't doing that, right? So in the article they reference 10 billion passwords, right? But they actually have the actual number here, and it's 9,948,575,739 unique passwords, right? And they're in a plain text format. So this database that has been leaked to with these credentials, it's called RockU 2024, is where the compilation is, and it's a compilation of earlier database breaches, right? Which we've had plenty, right? It seems like every week we're telling you about some type of breach where usernames and passwords were discarded, right? And we usually say it's not that bad when it's, username, password, they didn't get your PII. That's at least a good thing, right? Well, this is where it can come back to haunt you, right? This is where you get a compilation of things, right? It's kind of like when you're dealing with the Department of Defense, like a compilation of information has a chance to bring things to a higher classification and make it more. What am I trying to say here? More sensitive, right? More sensitive. That's kind of what we have here, is that this compilation of passwords it runs the risk of people, again, because of our own human behavior when it comes to just reusing the same username and password over and over again for things that are more important to our life. This is where it could be a problem, because the way that these criminals and that these cyber gangs and things operate, like the tools that they are using are becoming easier and easier to implement, right? There used to be a time where you used to have to write all this code and do all these things. No, that time is no longer here, right? It's a lot easier to make this a reality. And even then, like, with the different AI things that we had, different AI sources that we can use, they can make it easier for you to even develop these types of tools to where it's like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, what I need to do. Well, you need to do this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? All right, cool. Yeah, you go in there, fine tune a little bit, and boom, there it is, right? The idle hands, right? Being the work of the devil, making things happen. But yeah, 10 billion with a B, right? And they talk about in the article how it's a compilation of two different databases. There was a RockU 2021, I think is what it was, so 3 years ago. Was one that had, I want to say they said 8.5 billion unique passwords, and they've added 1.5 billion more on top of that, right? So, and again, it's unique passwords, right? So it's not like if I have 6 accounts that all have the same one, that doesn't count as 6. That's one unique password, right? They have 10 billion of these. So be on the lookout, folks. Like if you start getting, weird messages, saying, hey, we saw, like usually when you change a password for all these different sites and apps and things of that nature, they notify you that you did. If you didn't, pay closer attention to it, right? Now, I'm not telling you click any links in these emails, right? Don't get antsy and be like, oh no, they just told me about this. I should click this link. No, go to the app or the website that you know on your own, not attached to the website, and verify that everything is as it should be, right? And if for whatever reason it wasn't you, do everything that you can to get everything changed, right? Don't do it again to where you change your password and then you do it again for the same 6 things. You're like, copy this password now. No, especially since now there's 10 billion different unique passwords they can use, right? So who knows? That's why when it comes to security, when it comes to like having lockout procedures for certain things, that's kind of a good thing. And I'm kind of seeing now, because there have been times I've forgotten a password, right? And I'm like, man, I've usually in the DoD, they're like, after 3 attempts, that's it, you're locked up, right? I'm seeing a lot more now that's not what they're doing in the civilian world. I'm saying it's just, you can just go on forever and ever and ever and ever, right? So when it comes to them running these automated tools, it's not a big deal for them to run it 20, 30, 40, 50,000 times and not be an issue. You know what I mean? So, but be on the lookout, folks. There's 10 billion, almost 10 billion unique passwords out there that are in databases that hackers and these ransomware groups are probably going to start using for nefarious purposes. So be on the lookout. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Obama. Now explain. So the hacker is using the pseudonym, or the pseudonym. They're using the name Obamacare. Yeah. So I finally got to use that line for the first time. Definitely like and share, subscribe while I do stuff to the podcast. Leave us some feedback. Greatly appreciate that. I'm getting better at responding to it. I say that and I'm probably a week behind. So definitely continue to leave us feedback, and then sub, like subscribe. You're trying to hit 500 subs soon, and then 1,000 by the end of the year is the plan. But with all that out of the way, this is the easy button. That's the fear for me, because now it's not a matter of us of the bad guys having to kind of work at it. It's more of, I now have either your username or your password, and then I can just control find this ginormous database, and it's like, okay, well, in this breach we stole your username, so now I can just search all the passwords that are associated with this username and then put those in, and hopefully one of these, because you like to use duplicate passwords, will open up this account, and now I'm in. So that's the fear for me, is it makes it easier for the bad guys to do what they do. And then the second part is just enable multi-factor authentication on all your stuff. If it allows you to put multi-factor authentication, at least this will give you a heads up that someone's trying to tamper-proof your stuff, because you receive a text message, an email, or something. And it just makes it a little bit harder for them to get in. But again, if they have your username and you use that everywhere, and now they have a database of associated unique passwords that might be associated with that username, this is the year for you to change your password. So 2024 is the year of the password change. There's no way getting around it. There's only 8 billion people in the world, and they have a database of 10 billion passwords. So you do the math, you're probably on this list somewhere. So just change your username and password, enable multi-factor authentication wherever possible, and hopefully next year, 2025 or beyond, we'll get all the passwords, because it's just not helping. Ultimately, aside from just having tokens or something like that, I think we're going to have to just go to biometrics. It's going to have to be face and things of that nature, because it's the only thing that they can't so far steal of yours and replicate in a useful way would be your face. So that's the way we're going to have to go. Because even though that's what I use on my phone, right? I'm an iPhone user. I use my face to unlock most of my accounts. Most of them have multi-factor authentication, but behind those is still username and password. So that is the issue. That's the root of this problem, is having usernames and passwords. And that part I don't know how to solve, because it's, again, the easy button, aside from tokens and things of that nature, which are very slow to roll out, pins, things like that. I would say the DoD and other government agencies have a really good system going on with their credential, like having a card, like something you have, and then something you know. However, that's kind of hard to replicate on the move, right? So how do we get around that when it comes to our mobile devices, things of that nature? It's been face and thumbprints and things of that nature, but still behind those things is username and password. So we have a long way to go to solve this issue, and this just made it worse. So 10 billion passwords being out there is going to be a problem moving forward. So, like Shannon said, like good on you for saying, like, yeah, don't click the link, because that might be a trap in itself. So you get an email that says, "Is this you? Are you trying to change your password?" And go to the source, log in to see if anything's changed, and go from there. But can we beat this one? This horse has been beat to death, right? Passwords are a problem, and so they're getting worse. So definitely change your passwords if you haven't in a while. So hit us up. By our name is the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW. Ask a CISSP on the interwebs. Leave us some feedback. Hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me on most social media platforms. You can get Chris and Daniel by their names on LinkedIn. Stay safe. Stay secure.